Welcome to another episode of Distory. My name is Kirk from walruscarp.com, and with me, as always, is Kate, the Disney Cicerone. Tonight, we're going to be diving back into the delicious, delectable, and very detail-rich restaurant, the Skipper Canteen. Skipper Kate, how are we doing this evening?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited to dive into this one because there's a lot of really bizarre, obscure things that I had to look up because I had no idea what they were. And I do think it's important that we preface is the word I'm looking for. That just like the rest of the Skipper Canteen, we're not going to hit everything that's in there because there's a lot of weird odds and ends and things that would take us hours and hours to catalog. But we will get through some really fun little secrets and things that we want to share with you guys.
So buckle up for another 7-hour episode of Distory, and we'll just talk about everything and anything.
Well, I can't remember. Is this 19 or 20?
This is
19?
number 20. This is
20?
episode number 20, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 20.
Episode 20 of our Jungle Cruise Distory series. So if you've missed anything about the Jungle Cruise, we have many, many episodes of that for you.
Don't do it. Don't do it. How many days you got? You need a full day.
It's shocking that it's longer than the Haunted Mansion, I have to say. I did not see that coming.
Haunted Mansion doesn't have a restaurant.
That's true. Or 2 tiki bars. So Haunted Mansion should have a restaurant, though. Can we please petition for a Haunted Mansion restaurant?
Columbia Harbor House, tear it down, put a Haunted Mansion restaurant.
I thought you were saying Columbia Harbor House is the Haunted Mansion restaurant. I was like, no.
Should be. Should be. Let's do it. Petition.
There's a captain subcontext to it.
Mr. No. Bob Iger. I have a great idea for the Columbia Harbor House, which is trifling, boring, and nautical.
No, man, I am 100% behind that. Can you imagine having a Haunted Mansion restaurant?
Dude,
there?
If it was a table serve, they could charge more than be our guests, and it would destroy.
They could have every room be themed after a different Haunted Mansion scene. Like, How amazing would that be?
Yeah, and it's already a restaurant. Just have to retheme it. It's not that much effort.
No,
not much effort. It's not that much cost, which is always a prohibitive thing when it comes to new projects. All right, let's talk about a restaurant that actually exists, the Skipper Canteen.
Let's do it. So, last week we talked about the history of the Adventureland Veranda, which was what was in this space before. We also talked about the lobby and the main crew mess hall, and a little bit of the backstory, which we won't get into too much here, but it really does have to do with Alberta Falls and her family, who run the Jungle Cruise Navigation Company Limited. So that is now where we're headed into the Falls family parlor, also kind of known as the Jungle Room. There's a couple names that people have referenced it as, but this is essentially like the family parlor where they would.
If you drop a dish in the Jungle Room, how do you clean it up?
How?
With the Jungle Broom.
Okay.
Terrible.
That was terrible, but it's okay. So where do we want to start first in here? Kirk, why don't I'll let you choose. I picked a lot last week.
Okay. Let's start at the beginning, which is just like inside the room. So,
start at the very beginning.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you enter in this, the space itself is adorned with rugs all over. There are lots of wooden fixtures against the wall, as well as cabinetry spaces affixed with glass, and there are some chandeliers that are very ornate that we'll get to. There's also lots of wood carvings, silverware, as well as then artifacts within these cabinets. And then above has like a bamboo thatching kind of vibe, which we've talked about. I know you and I have talked about, but I don't think we ever talked about on a Distory before. So that'll be fun to talk about as well. Yes. And then there's a really cool little Skipper Canteen model, and then lots and lots and lots of call outs to the attraction.
And also some random artifacts and pictures and masks and things on the walls. So there's a lot in this room. And I think I spent probably 2 hours looking through my footage of all of this to try to see all the tiny things. And I was like, this is too much. I'm going to just pick the highlights.
Well, I felt the same. I felt the same way about there's just so much. It's a hodgepodge of things. It's like a Bojangles or a Shenanigans or any kind of restaurant where they like staple a tuba to the wall. Like there's just too much to go through on every
jungle
item.
themed. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So where should we head in if we're zooming in on something? Where would you like to go first?
Do you want to do the chandelier? Because it's probably the thing that draws your eye first. And it's just so beautiful. It's these stained glass chandelier that has 4 different parrots or macaws on them. There's 2 different sets of colors. One kind of is reminiscent of what I would think is kind of Jose, because there's some red in there, there's some yellow and some green. And then there's one that's kind of, I wouldn't call it Pierre, I would lean more towards Michael-ish kind of vibe. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because a couple of the sources I read said, oh, it's all 4 of them. It's all the Macaudios, which is like what they called them is the Macaudios, like macaws. There's not all 4 of them because you look the same as the other 2. So yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah, it's almost like pairs versus a quartet.
And this is a nod to the original restaurant that was planned in the Tiki Room space in Disneyland. So I think this is like the chandelier is a joke in itself, because if you remember, first we did an episode on or a couple episodes on the Enchanted Tiki Room, but it was first going to be a tea room that Walt wanted to make for his wife Lillian, and then they changed it into a Stouffer's restaurant concept. And Walt was like, we can't have real birds over the food. They'll like poop on the food. And they're like, no. It'll be like, they'll be stuffed or they'll be, and then of course, Walt had his little animatronic bird that they got from their travels that is still in his office today. And that kind of kicked off all the audio animatronic craziness. And that's how the birds became the first audio animatronics to ever exist. So they put these birds...
Audio animatronics inspired by Mechanical Bird.
Yes.
if Disney had an S.E.A account.
Love that. So anyway, they were going to have these birds above the tables, and they're like, you can't do that. So this is just a nod back to that original restaurant concept for the Enchanted Tiki Room of having birds over your table while you're eating. And I think it's so clever that they did that and made that little joke. And they're so beautiful too. They're gorgeous.
You know what's crazy is when you go to other theme parks, especially in Epcot, there's one section over by just past the China Pavilion. There's a bridge there. And then at Busch Gardens, there's an A-frame that's up over by where the alligators and the gorillas are for ibis nesting. It would be the only time in these theme parks that you really should look up. Or actually, don't look up. Look down and get out fast.
Well, shall we go from these stained glass birds to some stained glass peacocks that are over the door? I think
sure. If I have a picture of them. Hang on.
I think I've got one somewhere. Oh, I have a video. I have a moving picture.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, look. Okay, now there we go. So that's the stained glass peacocks that are over this door space. And I was been trying to figure out what is the connection back for Jungle Cruise for these peacocks, right? And I'd like to tell you I have this amazing connection that I have figured out, but I have not. So all I know is that I have some symbolism for peacocks. Someone called it a reminder of the beauty of life and a symbol of joy and celebration, which I thought was so lovely for just Jungle Cruise in general, and then also in this family room. But it also can mean beauty, new beginnings, confidence, creativity, elegance, protection, pride, renewal, and versatility. So there's some themes in there that we do tie into the Jungle Cruise, and especially for a family. I think it's like this ties back to the family theme. And also kind of that Victorian, look and feel to it for the parlor. It's a time-setting thing, I think.
They're pretty, and they're animals.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little bit more digging to see if there's a specific reason why the peacocks were chosen, because there probably is, but I was not able to find it. So I just want to mention that the peacocks exist, and that's what I got for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Where would you like to go next?
I was going to say, your peacock picture has... the the carvings. Do you want to do the carvings?
Oh, yeah.
We're kind of looking up, and then I think we should do the ceiling next.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so there's several wooden carvings that are around the room. There's one that is the trapped safari scene that we know and love with the rhino, just minus all of the trapped safari. So it's the rhino with like a tree and then a hyena who's laughing. And of course we did all kinds of talking about that scene. We did an entire episode on the trapped safari, so we won't get into that, but that's what that looks like there.
I love that one.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many people don't recognize that that's the trapped safari because it doesn't have the top.
Yeah, it
doesn't
have to know that scene. Yeah.
Right. It's very specific to the Jungle Cruise. Otherwise, you just think it's a rhino and a hyena without seeing the characters up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk about one of the other ones?
Right now, I can't pull any of them up. Do you have the monkey where he has the fez over his head?
There.
Okay, perfect.
Well, it's a pot.
Yeah. So this one is in direct reference to the tunnel scene of the Jungle Cruise in Walt Disney World, specifically audio animatronics on the left-hand side after we pass the snake scene, and we see one of those monkeys has a pot on his head. So it's identical to the exact scene.
Yeah, and there's actually they have a couple of the monkeys on this one. They're in the pots, they're around the pots, you can see. And you know what I love about this was, if you remember when we talked about the Cambodian temple and we talked about the original concept of these monkeys, this was actually for Disneyland that Mark Davis did, this concept of these. It was a family of monkeys. So they put them in the family room because they're a family of monkeys.
Oh, okay. And I don't remember if a group of monkeys is a troop. I know that a group of gorillas is a troop. I don't know if monkeys live in troops too.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like this is what they look like when they're inside the Cambodian temple. So you can see the one with the little pot on his head, and then there's some over here as well. So that was from Mark Davis in his concept art. And then there's older. We won't get too deep into this, but there's older pictures that are concept art of him that he made for Disneyland as well. So there's another wooden carving that is, I believe it's above a door. This one's really kind of interesting. I don't know if I have a still image of this. It's got two African elephants. And I thought originally it was like the Indian bathing pool, but I think it's the two African elephants.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're just standing there. So I'm assuming.
All right. Where shall we go in this room from here? You want to go to the ceiling?
Yeah. Now, you told me this, and I don't know the validity of it, but wasn't this reclaimed from the actual attraction or a piece of the Jungle Cruise, right?
Okay.
If I remember your story.
So this was actually something that I believe it was Jim Korkis said. He actually published it in one of his books. I think the book is called Kungaloosh, but it's all about like jungle themed stuff. So the book is pretty well researched in general, but he did get a couple things wrong in it. And I actually asked our good friend, former Imagineer Kevin Lively, I said, is it true that this wood was reclaimed wood from like the dock of the Jungle Cruise, or like it's clearly bamboo, so it would be like bamboo from the Jungle Cruise? And he said, no, none of that was true. He was like, no, that's just not true. So it's a fun story, but not true.
Okay.
So.
Kungaloosh.
There's a couple little things in that book that he's just like, no, that's not accurate. So
maybe Jim Korkis was a part of the S.E.A. and was trying to win the prize for the best story.
Yeah. Jim has done a lot of great research and interviews of a lot of people over the years. And he's actually, I think, had some really major big health problems recently, and he was in the hospital. So, send some prayers and vibes his way for healing and recovery. But as a historian, sometimes don't always get things right. We, learn and grow and
Kate, are you saying that you get things wrong? Oh God, we don't want to start this.
Okay, can I say something, Jungle Cruise, that I got wrong?
Oh, all right, I'm here.
Okay, so as much as I want it to be true, the gorilla was not repurposed for the Matterhorn. Kevin messaged me and he's like, I thought that same thing too for a long time. So he actually went and did some looking into it. Now, it is the same one that moved from the Matterhorn to Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm trying to find my information about it because he actually did like give me some more information about
that still is crazy though because of the look of that one. I can see like Little Red made no sense because when you actually look at them, they are so dramatically different in look, size, feel that you couldn't see them even just reshaping and rebuttering up the elephant. Like I just can't see that, right?
Yeah. We were like, no, this is not
the gorilla looks exactly like the Yeti, almost to a T. I don't know the dimensions, so that's something I couldn't. That's interesting.
Okay, so here's the actual conversation with Kevin Lively said. He said, I asked Tom Morris if he knew about this. He asked Steve Miller, who was the coordinator of that rehab for the Matterhorn. He said the face was all new, sculpted by Blaine Gibson, and the mechanisms were all new from Mapo. So this is the exact quote from him. He said, it was not true. If my memory serves me correctly, the body was sculpted in foam by Gene Wilkerson, and the head was sculpted by Blaine Gibson from a sketch by Steve Kirk. The mechanics were all new by Mapo. It was all just destroyed. They remembered that they were laying backstage near Doc's warehouse for a while. And the maintenance guys wanted to remove the mechanism first, but they were not reused. So I really appreciate Kevin reaching out to me with that. And honestly, this has been something that's been around in Disney lore for a very long time. And everybody's kind of just accepted it as true. And that happens often. And every resource that I had confirmed that. But I love that Kevin did a little bit more digging and asked. He has access to these people that I sadly don't have, maybe someday. And I really appreciate him giving me that information. So that is he really did go above and beyond to share that information with me. So thank you, Kevin, for that. Appreciate it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway.
Debunking myths coming to a TikTok near you.
Yeah, I'm bummed about it because I really wanted that to be true, and I'm sad. But
sometimes,
okay.
Well, you know what though? Sometimes those stories, it's still nice to have. You know, you don't have to share everything. You can enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah. But I thought since this is the Jungle Cruise series, we should, and we know this information, we should definitely pass it on to you guys so that you know. So I was just figuring out when.
Here at Distory, we lie excessively. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's important. It's important. Sometimes you got to redact gorilla myths.
Can we talk about Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats?
Sure. Yeah.
Inside this family parlor room, there is a miniature boat that was an actual boat from a attraction called Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats. And it was a game that was located outside of the Jungle Cruise. And now it's on display in this case, although it has a different name on the top, which is Malopa Marie. And if you remember, that is Alberta's vessel. The boat was named for Dr. Falls's wife, explorer Victoria Marie Falls. And then this boat was piloted by Alberta.
It's me, Berta.
I did that last week. I said that Jock Lindsay was a pirate, and I listened back on the podcast. I was like, no.
So I heard you say it, but I knew you would cut it, so I didn't bother.
I didn't cut it. I just put an asterisk on the video because I was like, there's literally nothing I can do to save this. It is what it is.
I would have just cut it, but it was fine.
I think I said it was a boa. I didn't say boa constrictor either. I said like boa conductor or something.
You definitely said that one too.
Oh gosh. Okay, so we have this Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats. Well, what is that? Okay, so first I think we have to talk about, this is one of my rabbit holes, so just bear with me here. So first we have to talk about Shrunken Ned, or Colonel Nedley Lostmore, who's a character in Disneyland's Adventureland. Colonel Nedley Lostmore was a British colonist who was somewhere around the late 1800s to early 1900s. And he was someone who trained and hired new skippers for the company, which is hence the boats that you are training to be a skipper by driving these little boats around. I do have a picture of the boats before I get too much into Ned. You can see this is what the boats look like. This is what it looked like for the what you would steer. So this would be like right off. So you got the exit of Jungle Cruise. So it would be on the right in that little pond there.
I always loved those as kids.
I know. I'm sad I never got to play them. They were in Disneyland Hotel, but we were not in that tax bracket to go to the Disneyland Hotel when I was a kid. So these boats were in Disneyland, in Magic Kingdom from 1997 to 2012. And then they were replaced in 2013 for a station with the interactive game, The Pirate's Adventure, Treasures of the Seven Seas. So that's what replaced it. And in Disneyland Hotel, it was there from 1999 to 2010. So if you're like, I don't remember seeing that, well, you might not have been there in those years. So Ned was, what happened to Ned was he was decapitated and had his head shrunk, which is what we're seeing here, and preserved as a sentient shrunken head who was subsequently mounted in the South Seas Trader Shop, which is now like the eating area for Bengal barbecue.
Nothing makes you hungrier than a shrunken head.
Ned became a trained witch doctor / fortune teller who would give out services for those who paid, and he's known as the jungle's only self-service witch doctor. He's also voiced by Eddie Soto, if anybody remembers Imagineer Eddie Soto, and we talked about this is his voice. But so you can pay 50 cents, I think it is, and you can get a little like card from Shrunken Ned, which is what we saw one of those inside the bulletin board in the mess hall, right? So I have a couple of these that I thought I would just read because they're funny. The cards look like this. And it says, Shrunken Ned, Jungle Witch Doctor.
Shrunken Ned's thought for the day. Be very careful about following the advice in health books. You could die of a misprint.
Here we go.
Can you just pull it out just a little bit?
Yeah,
there we go.
I'm working it.
Shrunken Ned's rules for good health. A, never eat anything bigger than your head. B, get plenty of sleep, especially at work. And C, run only if chased.
It's good advice. That's what I do. Okay.
And then Shrunken Ned's philosophy. Nothing in excess, including moderation. You know what's fun? My one buddy, his wife is a nutritionist, and she always said, everything in moderation, including moderation.
Well, maybe she got it from Shrunken Ned.
Yeah, I feel like she might be a ghostwriter. Shrunken Ned's balanced diet. 1, while holding a double chili cheeseburger in each hand, balance a pepperoni pizza on your head and a bowl of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream on your nose. 2, eat everything you can balance.
Balanced diet. I went a little bit deeper into the rabbit hole, forgive me, Kirk, because I ran into this picture and I was like, what is this? And I was so excited. Have you seen this before?
So it's the Adventurers Club, and when I saw Ned, that's exactly who I thought it was. I thought it was, I don't think they're the same person because it looks larger, but they certainly look very similar.
They do. And that's why I was going to look into it because I wanted to make sure this wasn't him, like in, his next era. And it isn't. They're not the same character because this one has a different name. And he's Colonel Critchlow Sunbench.
What's crazy about the Colonel and the Adventurers Club is just amazing. That would easily be 2 or 3 episodes alone because it was just so fascinating. He was the very first puppetronic, and you're going, what on earth are you talking about, Kirk? A puppetronic? It was voice acted by a cast member who was also doing the puppet at the same time.
I have a video.
But it still had movements and motions. It was insane. Puppetronics.
Okay, I'm just going to show you just a little bit of it because it's funny. This is him with his like ventriloquist doll Slappy, which we mentioned in the Tiki Bar episode.
I just learned it. Yeah. You know what? An octopi released the ventriloquist about on the radio. It's a big.
Some of the humor in that is it's quite funny, but it's definitely more geared towards adults.
It is not appropriate for children.
No, that's
the
why
Adventurers Club was for adults.
So that's why I like turned it off, because I was like, I know there's some things coming that I was like, I got to keep this a family-friendly show. But I'll post it later for some people to link to it in case you would like to venture and see more of his act. Now, I have to say, I found there's some things in the Enchanted Tiki room, in the Enchanted Tiki bar, that I don't think that we mentioned about this guy. There's one that says, a note that says, Sam, remember that time in Burma? Good heavens, I think I need a G&T just thinking about it. Until the next time, we two great explorers are paired Kungaloosh. That's Colonel Critchlow Sunbench. There's also a letter from the Adventurers Club president, Pamela Perkins, that can be found addressed to Sam, and it mentions the colonel wishing to leave a ventriloquist dummy named Slappy in Sam's care. And so Slappy actually is in the Enchanted Tiki bar in Disneyland.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I found a photo of him. If you go inside the bar and you go to the left and you look up at the ceiling, there he's hanging in a little like lobster cage. Our good friend Jackie found us a photo of Slappy hanging in his basket. So thank you, Jackie, for that.
Slappy. What a great name.
I know.
Did you ever get one of those little cards? Do they still do those cards?
Yeah, they still do.
Does that not exist?
I was trying to find out, because I know all the other fortune teller machines in Disneyland, you don't actually have to pay for them if you have the Disney Play app. You can get one for free every day for 10 days. So I was hoping this one was the same. I haven't been able to confirm it is, though. I don't think it is. I think it's more like the Aladdin lamp that's in the bazaar that you have to pay for. So bring a couple quarters so you can get your Shrunken Ned fortune.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I did find this this picture of the boats.
Yeah, they have a volcano.
Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats.
They have a tiki god statues, an elephant shrine, ancient ruins, and headhunters. So it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's a mini Jungle Cruise, because there's some things there that aren't in the Jungle Cruise.
The volcano, but everything else is pretty on.
Yeah, the elephant is.
Par.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And those are certainly, I don't know about you, Kate, but those are
Big chum. Those are traded. I need the big chum.
Well, obviously, it's supposed to be a training ground for the Jungle Cruise, so
I know they're like little juniors.
You can see the spears in this one pretty well over in the water.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And it kind of like helped keep you in the right areas too, so you didn't go.
Yeah, I always liked when I was a kid going through the little archways. Like this guy's legs, I would be straight there. I'd be underneath the elephant. Like you got to go through stuff. You got to weave through it. That's the fun.
I'm kind of sad they're gone. They were really fun. All right, so shall we move on in the family room? Can we go to the china cabinet? I don't have a lot for, but I do have the joke that they use for it.
Okay.
Which is they call it the Great Wall of China.
Oh yeah, there you go. I like that.
Which I think is fun.
And it's a lot of it's that same kind of British colonial style that would have been, prevalent.
Yeah. And then there is something though that is down in the corner, something that is the opening day ribbon for Skipper Canteen. Is also located there in the corner, the actual one. So.
Yeah, that was and that we found that from cast members when we were there. We had no idea. We were just like wandering around aimlessly, and they were like, "Oh, that's the opening day banner."
I know. Shout out to the Skipper Canteen cast members.
Cast members, yeah, they're very cool.
I do have some things about the art that's on the walls. I didn't do every single one, but I do have some photos. So what I was trying to figure out was, why did they pick these particular photos and pictures that they put on the walls? Because to me, they feel like a lot of them just feel like theming, like we're just going to put you in a place and a time, and we're going to make this, obviously it's kind of like jungle/explorer themed. So you can see in this one, they also have a bow and arrow, and they have some masks on the walls as well. But I did look up a couple of them online, and we have things like, we have Petra, Jordan is on.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Or if you're an Indiana Jones fan, that would be the Last Crusades spot of where they found the Cup of Christ.
There you go. So they've got Petra. They have, this one is the Colosseum. And I did actually look up the year of these. Almost all of them are from like the 1840s, 50s, 60s, or 70s.
Can I tell you a fun fact about the Colosseum?
Of course.
Okay. Colosseum, obviously home to many gladiatorial battles. Do you know that they held at least 2 naval battles with full ships, and they physically caulked and flooded the Colosseum and had 2 ships fighting each other? How crazy is that? I can't even.
Yeah.
It's like, just, I was blown away. It's actually one of the few places that I physically visited.
Me too.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It's big. Such a big place.
It's gigantic, yeah.
So that one, the interior of the Colosseum, is an engraving from the 1840s from Rome. They have one that's called the London Royal Mail Coach that's produced. It was made in London, and this is from 1824. So I guess there's a 20 in there, and it looks like this one. Sorry, it's to the side, but this is a little mail coach one. They have one that is, this one was really interesting because I was like, what is going on here? There's all these like animals. There's a lion with a crown, and there's all these animals with different hats on. And then there's a monkey with a fez. I think it's a monkey.
Is this like a political statement kind of?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So this one, I looked it up because I was like, what is this? It's called The Threatened Revolt in the Jungle by J.S. Pugue from 1898. And the print shows a group of animals in a jungle, some showing the facial attributes of the rulers of Austria, which was Franz Joseph I, Germany, William II, and Italy, Umberto I. Others are depicted are Spain, Russia, Japan, Turkey, France, and China, as well as the British lion and Uncle Sam as the eagle. But there's for sure the British lion with the crown kind of overseeing everything. So it's a political illustration. So there's that. And then there's this one that has 2 birds in it. There's a whole bunch of birds ones. These are a monograph by Crest Petaphora by Alberti. I'm going to probably say that wrong, but it's called It has Birds of Paradise and Bower Bird from 1891. So they look like these. If you see any of these birds, I think there's a whole bunch by this artist in there, which really just makes you think of the Enchanted Tiki Room and Birds in the Jungle. And then I think this is probably one of my favorites. Oh, this one is just a ancient Roman architecture. So I think it's just place setting. But one of my favorite ones is the macaroni one. And you and I were looking at this one, the unfortunate macaroni. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when we saw this one?
I do.
Okay. So I looked up what this is about, and it's from 1772. During the 18th century, macaroni was the satirical term for men who sported elaborate clothing and continental affectations. So this was a series of caricatures from England that were produced between 1765 and 1790, depicting one of the young moderns at the time known as macaronies. So they were privileged young Englishmen who adopted styles and manners they had admired during their travels in Italy and France. They formed what they called the Macaroni Club, which because macaroni was virtually unknown in England at the time. So this is like, we're well traveled and we've eaten macaroni. So we're in the macaroni club. It was an eating club where they competed to outdo one another with their elaborate clothing and continental affectations. So this is the unfortunate macaroni. It's basically silly men who like to eat macaroni in England.
Yeah, and Ash points out, and you're actually correct. I don't know if you were saying this on purpose or like just trying to tie it together, but you are correct. Yankee Doodle makes references to macaroni as well. Most people are probably like, stuck a feather in his cap and he called it pasta. What are we talking about here? It's actually talking and making reference to macaronis.
Mm-hmm. I just love his like jig.
Yeah.
he's dancing. There's lots and lots of photos and pictures and things, but that's just a couple of them that I thought were kind of interesting. So
okay.
I won't bore you with more of those.
No, please. Talk about more non-food macaroni for a while.
Oh, gosh. Well, I think that's all I have for this room. Do you have anything else?
Let me look. No. I'm singing E.T. as I was going through that.
Thanks for that.
Dude, but, hang on. I do have our British lion as well.
I am.
A little carving down there. And this is over by the fireplace on the side.
We can see both lions at the same time.
Look at that. Tell me that's not a coincidence.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. Well, we talked about this before with the Jungle Cruise, that it is a British colony, out in the jungle. So it's that all tracks.
I do have some Egyptian, like Egyptology and Egyptomania with 2 sarcophagi over here, and then beast of burden with the camel, and then there's also like a tiki mask over here. But I did notice, I just like this because this is, again, a call out to when we were talking about earlier in the Haunted Mansion with the mummy and mummy unwrapping and everything, that obsession of the British and Egypt. So
yeah, no, that's
fun
great.
little call out. Mm-hmm.
And I think that the picture that is above it too is one of these like Egyptian ships as well, from what I saw.
Ship it.
There, that's what it looks like, is the ship.
There it is.
And there's also like a journal or a book that's next to it. And I'm not really sure what that's about.
It's Tom Riddle's. Don't open it.
Kind of, you know what it looks like is, what is that one that's like the books that will like eat you from Harry Potter? Like,
oh yeah,
the monsters.
Don't eat them.
Textbook creatures. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, shall we move on to the secret room?
Yeah. So we've talked about the mess hall. We've also talked about the family parlor. Now we are going to step into a secret room, which is hidden behind a very small library of books. So notice on the left, right, and forward were 3 gigantic bookshelves, which Kate and I have already decided next episode will be just solely devoted to this set of bookshelves. You'll notice when I zoom in here, the left-hand side of this center bookshelf actually is hinged, so it swings open into the left, actually exposes a bunch of S.E.A. members' fezzes, as if, when they go to their Society of Explorers and Adventurers meeting room, they would open up via, as Kate had a second ago, and I think I have here, the Jungle Book, which is the book that you actually physically will pull to make this hinged door open and have access to the meeting room. And then all their fezzes there, they grab their fez, and then they go and meet. So why don't we step inside the S.E.A.?
And this door is never actually closed. So if you're wondering, like, do I have to pull the book?
You have to pull the book. It closes on you.
You did?
Don't leave your hat behind. Grab it as it's slamming shut, the whole line.
Like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's very boring. It's always open. It's like funny, right? Because it's like this secret room that they just put you in no matter what. It's also the best room because it's close to like a bathroom and it's quieter. The mess hall kind of is it's very bombastic with like the echo of voices because it's very large and lots. Yeah, it's not ideal. I've never eaten in the family parlor, so I couldn't really discuss that one. But S.E.A. is quite lovely.
I was in the family parlor like once, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever sat in this room, in the secret meeting room.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like what it looks like. Same kind of deal with kind of fancy carpets, and it's got leopard print on the chairs, and it's more richly like wood paneled walls. So it's definitely more of a secret society meeting room would look like, right?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of picture, especially with the maps on the side, I kind of feel like they're picking out their next places. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's an explorer's room for sure.
Mm-hmm. So the one thing that I notice on this wooden engraved crest of the S.E.A., which is a giant S and nested in the top part of the S and the bottom part of the S is the E and A. And you see this all over the place. Like Tokyo has it, Disneyland has it. But it also has a Latin phrase on there, which is, pardon my pronunciation, I never took Latin. Is it exploratio or is it
Exploratio continua?
Exploratio.
I sang in a choir, so I know Latin.
What does that mean?
Well, you sing in a choir, learn how to pronounce it.
Okay.
So exploratio.
It translates into, I mean, I did look it up, but it's pretty obvious. It is continued exploration, which I think is just, Congolese.
I know. I'm sorry.
Huzzah.
I'm canceled from this series now.
What did they say in The Simpsons with their secret society?
Oh God,
they called
the Stonecutters.
The Stonecutters. Yeah, they had a phrase. I can't remember. I gotta look up my Stonecutters. But yeah, I know. I thought that was cool because, like, again, especially with the cartography and the mapping all around, it makes me feel like they are picking locations and places to go and explore to next.
Yes, for sure.
Should we start with?
Well, let's do the maps after. Let's do the butterflies first. They're easier.
Okay, butterflies first.
So the butterflies here tie back into that was Dr. Kon Chunosuke, which we talked about all in this Jungle Cruise series, who is the entomologist in the Lost Safari. And so these are some of the specimens that are displayed here. And this is known as, I believe, Albert Falls' like special booth, like, because he was the founder of S.E.A. So this is like the special booth to sit in. There is, again, in that Jim Gorgas book, the Kungaloosh one, he said that these were butterflies from Lillian Disney's personal collection. That's not accurate. They were purchased, what Kevin Lively said, he believed they were purchased on Amazon. So,
yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Well, listen, just incorrect person. It was actually Jeff Bezos's personal collection of made in China fake butterflies.
And they look very new.
No actual butterfly thoraxes were crushed in the making of this presentation.
Yeah, that's a little less gross to have them around you at dinner time that way.
Don't you want to take a butterfly net out and go like Winnie the Pooh? And because that's what he's doing at Epcot. He's like by the Imagination Pavilion with this little tiny net. And he's like, oh, wow, the butterfly pavilion's back. This is going to be great for my collection. He catches them and then he squishes them and he puts them in a little napkin.
Little pin.
And he puts them on display and pins them up. And he's like, oh, I love just killing butterflies and looking at them.
I don't think of Winnie the Pooh that way.
I do.
I'm like,
what do you think he's doing out there with a butterfly net? You think he's just like, who owns a butterfly net? Somebody who hunts butterflies for their collection, for their sick collection.
Well, you could catch them and let them go, right?
I'm pretty sure if you catch a butterfly, you mess up its wings and it's all like, it can't fly anymore.
That makes me sad.
I don't know. There's no truth to that. I didn't do it. Don't believe me.
Oh gosh. Okay. Anyway, back to this booth that we're discussing here. The other thing I looked up for this was the lamp. I don't know if you guys noticed this lamp. There's symbols on it.
Oh, I never noticed that. I noticed that it kind of looks like a globe, but other than that.
was trying to zoom in a little bit for you. It is actually the signs of the zodiac.
Oh.
Yeah. I was looking at it. I was like, what are these characters? What do they mean? So I like ran over to Elliot because he knows lots of weird things. And I was like, what are these symbols? He's like, that's the zodiac. I was like, oh, I wanted them to be like Greek. So, oh, see, is he catching bees? We need if we could catch bees because then they could lead him to honey. That makes more sense than butterfly.
Well, I mean, I guess your probably best bet is to catch a bee, hold it hostage, demand it to tell you where the hive is, and then use him as bait to lure out the other bees to then get the hive. Yeah, that's a good call. Probably Pooh did that.
Yeah, but logically, it tracks. Anyway, here's more signs of the zodiac. This is what they look like here. So you can see those inner circles, obviously the ones we're going for there on that light that's inside the Albert Falls table. Where do you want to go to the maps now?
No, I don't. I don't want to do it. Let's go to the picture. Let's go to the photo. Let's go to the painting.
Oh yeah, yes, do that. Let's do all the little things first and then the maps. The maps are a lot.
Now, we talked about this before in a previous episode, that this is it's the discovery of the Cambodian temple by Albert Falls. And in the backgrounds, there is another member of the S.E.A. who is the official photographer, is all the way in there in the back. There also is the call out to the snake in the tree. And then you can see Shirley's temple in the back as well. The ancient Cambodian shrine to Dr. Albert Falls.
Yeah, this is his certificate for his official discovery. Mm-hmm. And it's dated June 5th, 1888.
What seal is that?
It's the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. It's like a big S. Yeah. And then it's signed Sango Shio, who's a senior member.
Is it really an award if it comes from the group that you started?
That you founded?
Do you know what I mean? Like, is it really an award if you're like...
It's like, we should have awards because I just found this thing and I need...
Sam Walton just won the Best Founder of Walmart award. Jeff Bezos won the Best Butterflies on Amazon award. You're like, it's not fair. You can't make that up.
It's true. That's yeah. No, I didn't even really think about that. Maybe that's part of the joke.
It's got it right. It's like it's like the part in the what do you call it? In the queue in Walt Disney World's Best Award for the Golden Piranha.
Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorites. All right, what else little things are in this room? I don't know if there's that much.
There are some artifacts in here. There's some masks. So
yeah,
there's some masks on the side. Nothing in particular that I knew historically speaking. And this sconces here are a little bit different because they're all are that globe. There's some recessed areas, and then it's kind of like brass and candlelight in the center.
But the only globe that has the zodiac letters on it is the one that's in that special butterfly seating area. The rest of them are all plain.
The big thing is that there's a bathroom in here. You can go out to the right, and actually the bathrooms are actually pretty cool because they have issues of the daily news in the men's room, not in the not in the. Relax. First of all, you're the one who told. I was like, go in the bathroom. You'll see a copy of the Daily News. And you were like, no, there isn't. And I'm like, oh, there's one in ours. Hang on. And yeah, there is. And it also has, I think, two jujus, like an elephant one. And I think the snake one is in that little plexiglass in the restrooms. But you can't take pictures in restrooms. You go to prison for that.
Inside the women's room is more, it reminds me a lot of like Morocco, like blue and white tiles. So it's definitely different because he came out talking about the Daily News, and I was like, that's not what is in the women's room. Shall we move on?
Yeah. Do you have anything else that's small before we get into the maps?
No, I think everything I have left is map related.
Map related. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Which would you prefer to do first? Should we do the beasts or should we do the Mekong River one?
The beasts.
Hang out with the beasts. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's two different long maps that are on the walls of this room, and one is called the Legendary Beasts of the Mediterranean, which is not that one. You went to the other one.
No, it's not.
That's the Mekong River one.
This says, of the Mekong River. All right, hang on. It's this one?
Yes.
Okay.
This one is called the Legendary Beasts of the Mediterranean, with Captain Mary Oceaneer from S.E.A, which we've talked about before. So there's a lot of different references in the individual beasts that are listed on here, let alone the artwork that's underneath it. But you can see here, this one has Mary Oceaneer underneath. It's real hard to see here, but some of the beasts are... Do you have close-ups of them or not?
I don't.
Okay. Do you want to list one of the beasts, and I'll see if I can find a picture of it?
No, dude, you think I have a list of the beasts, bro?
You didn't list the beasts?
No, that's why you're here. You're better at this than me, so list away.
Okay. All right. So one is from...
Wait, hang on. Time out. Before we get into the beasts, can we talk about the fact that this is Spain, Italy, and Greece on the map?
Sure.
Okay. Just for people like who aren't visually recognizing the shapes of these places that aren't clearly labeled, but yeah, it's Spain, Italy, and then Greece over on the side. So all these beasts are resonating somewhere in the European Mediterranean Sea.
Okay. So the first one is called these are all like Latin names on here, right? So the Cymbalum, which is the Cymbalum horribilis sea serpent, which is actually one that was from the World of Motion attraction that is now defunct from Epcot. So I do have pictures of this said sea serpent, which looks like this. I think we've talked about this guy before on Distory, but this guy's Christopher Columbus is looking, and there's his eye.
He doesn't look that horrible. He looks pretty cool.
The original concept for this was a Mark Davis concept, and it's funny because they did change the staging of it so that he's looking a little more directly in his eye. But that's a whole nother episode of Distory to get into World of Motion a lot. But this is what the attraction poster looked like for it. You can actually see that this Cymbalum is on the little sea serpent is down there at the bottom, along with Christopher Columbus's ship. So this one is actually named after Ward Kimball, who was one of the main Imagineers helping create World of Motion. So that's why it's called the Cymbalum horribilis sea serpent, named after Ward Kimball, which is really fun. So the lore behind this particular creature was around 1492, the creature would terrorize the Italian and Spanish colonist Christopher Columbus on his voyages. And around the latter end of the 19th century, the creature was officially documented by one Captain Mary Oceaneer, member of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. There's also, if you go to Disneyland Paris, in the Small World attraction, there's actually a little toy depicting the sea serpent staring down.
Oh, that's cool.
Staring down a doll in a rowboat. Yeah, so I'm going to look for that later this year. So moving on to our next creature. This is a Runconoceros. Let me see if I can pull this picture up. So you can see the Cymbalum horribilis and the Runco. I can't say these names. And there's the other one that we're just talking about now is the Runconoceros. Runconoceros is this one down here. So this one is
so good.
Is named for Chris Runco, who was a Disney Imagineer who did work on the Jungle Cruise attraction. It's obviously also a rhinoceros reference for the Jungle Cruise. Remember our punching gorilla?
Yeah.
Okay. So he made a concept for this gorilla. So instead of him punching the croc, he would be fishing for the crocodile. And I think I have a picture of this for you guys because it's quite fun. It never actually ended up happening. It's not a great quality, but you can see he's fishing for the crocodile instead.
I like that. That's
so he came up with this one. that never ended up in the ride, but one of his other gags did. And it's Ellie, the elephant, splash boat.
Water.
Mm-hmm. So that, I think, is what earned him this mythical beast tribute on the map. Next up, we have the crocker fish, which is... Oh, he's a charmer. I like the crocker fish. So this one is named after Kyle Crocker, who has a podcast that's called Tales from the Jungle Cruise. And he is also a Jungle Cruise skipper as well. So
that's cool.
It's a podcast host that made it on the wall.
Really lucky, yeah.
I know.
Good luck, Kate. Maybe you'll end up as a toy or as a fish on a wall.
I mean, what kind of animals would they turn us into if we were...
Monkey. I'm stuck in a monkey. I know that.
A monkey.
No way I'm not.
I'd get some sort of creature that's, I don't know.
Like an owl.
An owl.
Something like wise,
With a book. An owl with a book. Okay, moving on. This one is a little bit interesting. It's the Cetus silax, I think is how you say it. And I'm not really sure what this one is. Okay, so he looks like this. And I did a lot of searching for this one, and the best guess I have, he's also known as the Kraken. That's like his other name, right? So the Kraken we know from, but this doesn't look like the Kraken from like Pirates of the Caribbean, right? There is something like this that might be from Sinbad's storybook Voyage from Tokyo Disney Sea. So that's my best guess for that.
Okay.
There's also something that is called, I'm going to mispronounce this, the Charid bis. It looks like that. He's got a lot of teeth.
It's like a sarlacc, but for the sea.
Yeah, it's a sea monster. And the only reference I found that connected this back to Disney was from DuckTales. There's actually a 5-eyed sea monster that looks similar to this. And I don't know if that's connected or not. This is purely me just trying to make a connection at all. There might be something else because it doesn't seem very likely based on the rest of the Jungle Cruise lore we have. But that is something that I could find. There's a creature called a balena. And if anybody speaks Italian, that would sound familiar to you because balena is Italian. So it looks like this. And I think that's probably a reference to Pinocchio because it's whale, monster the whale. And then it's also in Italian. So that would make it, Pinocchio is from Italy, from Collodi. Wrote those tales of Pinocchio. It's an Italian tale. So that's like, if I had to guess, it's probably from that.
It's probably right.
Yeah. And then there's the Polypus, which is a leviathan from Atlantis, the Lost Empire. And it looks kind of like he looks like a lobster. Like this. He definitely looks like that from the Lost Empire because it looks like this.
Interesting.
So it's got kind of the lobster like qualities from it.
I Googled Leviathan because I just am curious, and it comes from Hebrew origins, and the root means to twist, turn, wind, or coil. And there's some mythology and theology that are kind of tied together. But now generally we just talk about all sea monsters or giant things, powerful things could be leviathans.
Yeah. And then there is also a very easy one is the giant squid crushing a nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Wait, what movie is that from?
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Just see if you'd say it.
I did say it. I just said it.
No, I know.
You're so mean. Oh, okay. I think that's all the mythical beasts. Let me double check. Yeah, that's all of them.
Sweet.
Shall we move over to our other map?
Yeah, let's go to the, this map is me Konging me nervous.
Yeah.
This one has India, Thailand, Myanmar, Burma, almost like it has Hong Kong even, or Taiwan, but yeah, there you go.
So this one says legendary flying beasts of the Mekong River and the
So you can see the Mekong River right here in the center. It goes all the way up through a spine and its tributaries. And then, yeah, it's like all these just flying dragons.
You know what I just realized? I didn't even notice this before. Do you see the swans?
Yeah,
Like
swan boats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you also notice the center is like the tiki mast too?
Mm-hmm. I didn't notice that, but I never noticed the swans. So on this sign, it says, as recorded by the Honorable J. Chandler, President and Captain Brieux of the Hyperion Airship. So this was another one of my rabbit trails, so I'm sorry.
Well, Hyperion right there.
Yeah. So let's get in, we'll do the Hyperion in a second. We'll put that aside because I think you probably have some things for that too, I'm guessing. But Jason Chandler, who is Jay Chandler? That is Jason Chandler, who was a character originally developed for Discovery Bay. That was a land that was never built in Disneyland in California, but was kind of reimagined for Disneyland Paris. It's their Tomorrowland, essentially. So the backstory of Jason Chandler is actually linked to an area within Big Thunder Mountain. So I'll just do the Cliff Notes version of it so we won't get too far into this, but he invented a drilling machine that rescued 26 people from a mine cave-in on Big Thunder, and it should have been like this really wonderful time of celebration, but then there was a massive earthquake that struck the ground, and then a cavern kind of like opened up and swallowed him whole, and everybody tried to find him kind of like day and night, and they never did. And so at that point, Big Thunder never gave up any more gold after that. The mountain had gone bust, and then it became kind of a ghost town, and it was his tomb, for lack of better words. So that's his story. There is a letter in the Big Thunder queue between Jason Chandler and Barnabas T. Bullion, who is the president of the Big Thunder Mining Company. And this one, I just want to read this because I think it's fun. So it says, "Dear Barnabas, great Caesar's ghost, old chap. I haven't heard from you since our little misadventure in El Dorado. I'm indeed sorry to hear the second disturbance within Big Thunder Mountain, but I did warn you that you were prospecting at your own peril when I sold you the drilling machine. I took the liberty of consulting Madame Zarkov at the Museum of the Weird, and it is her considered opinion that you should abandon the entire operation at once and find a less volatile site. I wish I had better news for you, old boy, but some forces simply are not to be trifled with. On behalf of your compatriots of S.E.A, I do declaration and adventure to Chandler, founding member of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers." So that's actually in the queue of Big Thunder. You can
That's so cool.
Exchange. Yeah.
There's so many Haunted Mansion references in that.
Mm-hmm. I know. The Madame Zarkov and the Museum of the Weird. I was like, oh.
Museum of the Weird. And there was one just 2 sentences prior to that.
Well, they have the earthquake. They have the disturbance, the El Dorado drilling machine.
Great
Caesar's Ghost.
Caesar's Ghost.
Oh, Great Caesar's Ghost. Yeah. Great Caesar's Ghost. I know. Isn't that fun? So in Disneyland, this isn't in Disneyland's queue. It's only in Disney World's, but Disneyland does have up on top of something, there's like a suitcase, and it has a tag hanging from it, and it says Jay Chandler, and that is a reference to Jason Chandler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
It's probably in the bird area. That has lots of oh, wait.
I'm talking Disneyland.
Oh,
Or this letter's in your queue in Disney World.
Really? What? Where?
I don't know. You should go look for it. Little hunt. I'm guessing it's on that bulletin board area, it kind of in the front half when you're walking around. There's a whole bunch of letters and stuff that are posted there. I think it's there, if I had to guess.
I'll look tomorrow.
So Captain Brio is the other person who's listed, and he's a supporting character from the 1974 Disney film, The Island at the Top of the World. Of course, he built the Hyperion airship, which is featured on this map. And this, again, was also a lost concept. So here's the one that's on the map itself. I think it's on the other side of his map. This is what is on the map itself in the secret meeting room. And in Tony's original concept art for the never-built Discovery Bay in Disneyland. And then this is what it looks like today in Disneyland Paris. So this is the hangar for Captain Brio, who built this airship.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different types of airships and balloons and flying vehicles in here.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I had was from Around the World in 80 Days, kind of for the traditional one.
Yeah.
The other one that I thought was, I was thinking about Gulliver's Travels, and I was also thinking of Da Vinci. But those were the only, those are reaches, nothing concrete.
Well, some of them look very similar to Dreamfinder. Yeah. But I don't know for sure if they're meant to be. But there is that reference, remember, in the audio of the crew mess hall that references Dreamfinder. So that tells me I think he might have been connected to S.E.A. somehow. Or at least, you know, friends with Dreamfinder. So I lean towards it probably is one of them is Dreamfinders.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a for sure direct connection. So it's all the speculation. Do you want to talk about the rest of the map? Do you have anything else?
The only other thing I have about Hyperion is because both Walt Disney World and Disneyland both have a Hyperion theater. You guys have like musical presentations. We have in ours the Frozen sing-along, but there actually was based, yours in particular, your Hyperion theater was based on the Los Angeles theater, which I thought was, this is just funny that this picture of all pictures that I found on the internet is the Jules Verne Adventure Film Festival. Isn't that funny? Like,
I rock.
Yeah. Yep.
That's neat. Yeah, I know that there's a whole bunch of dragons that are listed on this map as well. And I was
they don't have like little names though for each one. They're just dragons.
No, I heard that one of them is supposed to be like Maleficent, but none of them looked like Maleficent to me.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Like,
I mean, I think like just people are making that connection because it's dragons.
I mean, they look very much like, here's the
like
close up of them.
Oh, this one is Mushu because it's a squirrely dragon. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't. I don't agree.
Just like generic dragons.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
Like this probably would be the closest to Maleficent, but it's not the right color. You know, like at all. It's like red.
Like this project was taking too long, and they spent so much time on the other beasts that they're like, dude, just put dragons on it.
Just stick a whole bunch of dragons on it.
It'll be fine. Nobody's going to care. It's not like somebody's going to have a podcast where they're going to study the map and then want to talk about every single dragon. That'll never happen. Don't worry about it. Just put it up there.
Those divers that like to dive into the details. Yeah, I don't have anything else for that because I didn't think the dragons, as far as I know, the dragons don't have like a specific meaning except for maybe they could represent different Asian countries. That could be possible, but that's all just me guessing. So I don't have direct information about that.
I didn't notice that the dragons had specific cultural references on them or even color tones that would lead me down that path, so I kind of left it at
it. Like just stylistically a little bit different, but that's about it. But I will say, you mentioned, Around the World in 80 Days, and I will say that Disneyland Paris's Tomorrowland, their version of Tomorrowland is heavily based in all of that era, kind of like steampunk influenced, but of that era. So it makes sense for them to just kind of tie back into, one of the overseas parks for that.
Mm-hmm.
So
love that.
Yeah, it's mostly Jules Verne, but they have others too. Inspired it. I think that's all. Is there anything else?
Not for this week.
Whew. That was a lot for like 2 rooms that I didn't think had much in him.
I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I thought listen, maybe because I had a little bit less. I had a lot less than you. So I was like, we're going to blast through this pretty quick. Nope.
It's me.
It's me. I'm the researcher. It's me. Yeah.
No, I can't. I'm like, it kills me that I still don't know what's in the like cabinets. I mean, that's going to be a whole nother thing I'll have to dive into. But
I do it all. Not in a day.
Okay, so then next week we're going to head to the bookcase.
So if that little tiny library, which you think is like pretty innocuous, every single one of the spines of those books has its own title, and there are so many incredible either inside jokes, details. Kevin Lively went crazy on sharing so many. Wasn't one like his chiropractor, like so it's not all just like Disney secrets, but there is J. Thaddeus Toad on there as well. There's just so many great references. So we felt it would not be fair to push through that, and we want to take our time. That will be a long episode because there's just so many book titles and each one has fun references. So, yep.
Yeah, but it'll be really fun.
Funny bookcase that I know Kate and I have always spent more time there than any other guest in Walt Disney World because we easily stood there for an hour taking photos and videos. So
like every time I go, I do that.
It's true. Yeah.
And I still find new things because there's so many.
There are, and it's hard to even go through like all of your pictures to really fully get it because sometimes they are those little details that you'll never find a reference to. But we'll try to do our best to be as complete, and if we can't get everything, it's okay. If we can't get everything, it's okay.
Yes. It's part of my therapy. Yes, sure. But I want to check the boxes, Kirk.
Just make smaller boxes. They're easier to check.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, I feel like we did a good job going over the secret meeting room and the family room. And next week it'll be on to the books.
Yeah, that's the Skipper Canteen until we get to the bookcase. And then guess what? Little tear.
We're done.
We're done. Like all good things, they have to come to an end. You can always come back.
True. 21 wonderful episodes full of jungle fun that anyone can listen to again and again.
Forever.
It goes on for
forever.
Miles and miles.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you taking your time to chill with us as we go over all kinds of crazy little details in the Skipper Canteen and beyond. So we appreciate y'all and have a wonderful rest of your week.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.